Afghanistan, not Iraq.
Here for that debate this morning, top strategists from the two campaigns, David Axelrod for Barack Obama and Howard Wolfson for the Clinton campaign. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. And David, let me start with you because I want to show what Senator Clinton had to say yesterday in response to your response to her original 3 a.m. ad. She was on the campaign playing.
Now, I think you'll be able to imagine many things Senator McCain will be able to say. He's never been the president, but he will put forth his lifetime of experience. I will put forth my lifetime of experience. Senator Obama will put forth a speech he made in 2002.
That's it. All it is, his experience is a speech. Your response?
Well, I mean, it's obviously not true. Senator Obama brings 20 years of experience in public life here. But on the most important question, you know, we talk about the red phone. On the most important question that Senator Clinton has had to deal with in foreign policy, the red phone moment for her, the vote on the war in Iraq, she gave the wrong answer. Senator Obama gave the right answer, said he thought it was a disaster to go into Iraq, that we'd be mired in a long civil war there, that we would roil forces in that part of the world that would make it harder and would distract us from Afghanistan and the real threat, Al-Qaeda. All of that has proven true, and he has fought that fight consistently. He also has led the fight in the U.S. Senate for arms control. Joined with Senator Lugar from Indiana to pass the Lugar-Obama Arms Control Act to try and corral loose nuclear weapons in Eastern Europe, which are the greatest threat in terms of terrorism. So he has a long record, and he's shown good judgment. And I think judgment is what people want in the next commander-in-chief.
Howard, if that isn't Hillary Clinton's red phone moment, that vote to authorize war in Iraq, then what is? What is the foreign policy crisis that she can point to where she was tested at 3 a.m.?
Well, look, you don't get tested at 3 a.m. with a phone call like that unless you're the president. So you look at what the person has as a lifetime of experience and judgment that they bring to the job. Now, we've been endorsed by nearly 30 generals and admirals. These are people who have served with Senator Clinton in her capacity on the Armed Services Committee. They know that she has good judgment. They know that she will be the kind of person who will protect this country, who will use both force when necessary and diplomacy when required.
But there is no crisis you can point to that she's had to handle.
Well, look, I don't think anybody going into that office can say, if you're not the president, oh, I've gotten a call at 3 a.m. and something terrible has happened in Russia. You look at a person's totality of experience, the kind of judgments they've made, who has supported them, what kind of support that they've had, and that's how you make a judgment.
Mr. Axelrod?
Well, I want to pick up on what Howard said. You know, Senator Obama's been endorsed by Secretary Danzig, who was Secretary of the Navy during the Clinton administration, by General McPeak, who ran the Air Force during the first Gulf War, by Tony Lake, who was the National Security Advisor under President Clinton, and a host of others, including on Friday by Senator Jay Rockefeller, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who opposed the war in Iraq, who read the intelligence before the war, which Senator Clinton concedes she did not, and who said that Barack Obama has the judgment and the maturity and the vision to lead. It was the same thing that Senator Dodd said earlier in the week, Chris Dodd, when he endorsed Senator Obama. So I think if we're going to judge by our associations and what people say, I think there's a fair amount of evidence that Senator Obama has very strong support.
You know, George, Senator Obama did give a powerful speech, and that speech in many ways is a metaphor for his career. He gave a powerful speech. He was against the war. He came out against funding. And then he went to the Senate, and what did he do? He didn't do anything to try to stop the war until he began running for president. He said that his position was the same as George Bush's in 2004. David talks about Afghanistan. He was in charge of the subcommittee with oversight over NATO and Afghanistan. He was too busy running for president to hold a single hearing. So yes, a powerful speech, powerful words, backed up by no action.
David, that is true that Senator Obama did not hold a single hearing on Afghanistan as chairman of the subcommittee on Europe, isn't it?
Well, let's go back to to Howard's premise, though, because I don't want to let that stand. The first thing that Senator Obama did when he became a senator was to question Condoleezza Rice on her confirmation hearing and demand some sense of where we were going to go. In fact, Senator Dodd noted that questioning and said that so impressed him in the first instance when he began to question and probe and see how is this going to come to an end. He made a speech in 2006 and fought for the notion of a phased withdrawal from Iraq that became something that the Commission, the Baker Commission,
but no hearings
embraced.
on Afghanistan,
and he introduced in 2007, in January of 2007, a bill for a phased withdrawal, which Senator Clinton opposed. She said it was a mistake to set a date for withdrawal from Iraq. So their positions have been quite different, and his leadership has been clear.
Their positions, actually, when they've been in the Senate, have been remarkably similar. I think they have almost the identical same votes, except for one. It is true, David. The same votes except for one.
Senator Clinton did not co-sponsor that bill that Senator Obama was talking about.
I'm not familiar with the bill, but I noticed that he didn't answer your question, which is, if Afghanistan was the concern that Senator Obama gave when he gave this eloquent speech, why didn't he hold a hearing and say, what's going on with NATO in Afghanistan? Why has this become the forgotten war? Why aren't we doing more to support our troops there? Again, a metaphor for his career. Great speeches, beautiful rhetoric, no follow-through, no results, no action.
Howard, he has been raising this consistently since this war began.
Well, he had a chairmanship.
Both in the Senate, both in the Senate and across the country. And I'd remind you that we wouldn't have this problem of a diversion of attention to Iraq if Senator Clinton had cast a different vote and others had cast a different vote and not followed the misbegotten leadership of George Bush on this issue.
I want to move on to another topic, and that's the topic of Tony Rezko. Senator Obama's old friend and campaign contributor. He goes on trial tomorrow on corruption charges in Chicago. And Howard, you've been calling up every reporter you know, going on dozens of conference calls saying there are a host of questions that the Obama campaign has not answered about Tony Rezko. You have David Axelrod right here. What are the questions they need to answer?
Well, I can't imagine he's going to answer them, but I wish that he would, and I think Democrats hope that he will. For instance, how many fundraisers did Mr. Rezko throw for Senator Obama? What did Senator Obama do for Mr. Rezko? Did he write letters for him? What projects of his did he support? How many business meetings did he attend where Mr. Rezko had business associates there? What are one more important one, what are the full details of this very unusual real estate transaction that Mr. Rezko and Mr. Obama entered into? What I would suggest to my friend David, and he is my friend, they should put out all of the information regarding that real estate transaction, all of the emails, all of the correspondence, all of the letters, every single piece of information so that the public can really look at this and say, what's going on here?
Well, let's give him a chance to answer some of those questions now. How many fundraisers, what kind of quid pro quos were there, what did Senator Obama do, were there business meetings, and the full details of the real estate transaction?
George, there have been 255 stories done on this issue, many by the Chicago media, others by the national media. All these questions have been asked. All these questions have been answered
today, David.
And there's not, no, wait a second, just 1 second, Howard.
Fair enough.
There's not been one, as the Associated Press said in their summation of this thing, there's been not one bit of evidence of any wrongdoing on the part of Senator Obama in this or any other matter. And Howard knows that. Look, we are at the end of a campaign. Senator Clinton has lost 11 primaries in a row. Last week, the New York Times said she would throw, that the campaign's plan was to throw the kitchen sink at Senator Obama to try and stop him. And this is what this is all about. And I think people will see it in those terms. This isn't what people want us to be talking about. They want to talk about their lives, their problems, and how we're going to move this country forward.
I think everyone watching today will note that he didn't answer any of those questions. And in fact, the Chicago Tribune has said, when they endorsed him, come forward, Senator Obama, answer the legitimate questions. How many fundraisers? How much money raised? How much of it was given through straw donors?
We've answered those questions, Howard, and we returned, as you know, we returned $150,000. As you returned $850,000.
And I answered a lot of questions about that.
Who sits in a prison in California today, having raised almost $1 million for this campaign, this presidential campaign. Tony Rezko hasn't raised a dime for this presidential campaign.
David, I just want
and we returned the money he raised for us in the Senate race.
Will you put out all of the information, the emails, the correspondence relating to the real estate transaction, all of it? Will you put it out?
Howard, we have been forthcoming. and all that information has been brooded over.
No, it has not.
255 searches. But here's my question back to you, because this came in response to our request and our point that Senator Clinton continues to refuse to release her tax returns, as all the other candidates have.